Alright, today we're going to be doing some SAT Math Level 2, which is part of the subject test. So without further ado, let's begin. This first question, if f of x equals 3x plus 7 over 6x plus 4, what value does f of x approach as x gets infinitely larger? You want to underline like I'm doing, so you don't miss any important details. So we want to write out the question again, or at least what's given to us here. So f of x equals 3x plus 7 over 6x plus 4. So then you might notice that the degrees of the numerator and the denominator are the same. So this means that there is a horizontal asymptote. So as x gets infinitely larger, the y values are going to approach a certain value, and that is our horizontal asymptote. So in calculus, this is called a limit, but to all the pre-calculus students out there, you might not know what that is. So we're just going to keep it simple and say that just crossing out the constants and then finding the fraction of the numerator and the denominator will give us our answer. That's going to be a half. So on to the next question. O is the center of the circle, and the diameter is 12. What is the arc length AB? So first you want to notice this angle here. This is 90 degrees, but in the arc length formula, S equals R theta. Theta is in radians and not degrees. So you might have learned in your trig class that 90 degrees is equivalent to pi over 2 radians. And then our radius is not our diameter. You have to be careful with that. Our radius is our diameter divided by 2. That equals 6. And then our arc length will end up being S equals 6 multiplied by pi over 2, or 3 pi, which is letter A right here. So what is the distance in space between this point and this point? So 1, 0, 5, and -3, 6, 3, right? Okay, so you might be wondering, why are there 3 points and not just 2? I know that most of you are probably comfortable with x, y coordinates and not x, y, z coordinates. I know I was only taught x and y coordinates in my math classes. So then you might be stuck. But in reality, it's very simple. It's just the distance formula, but in 3 dimensions. So the distance formula is distance, or yeah, distance equals the change in x, so that's going to be -3 minus 1 squared, plus the change in y squared, plus the change in z squared. And so let me take out my calculator here, and let's see what the answer is. Just give me a second. It's going to be 4 squared plus 6 squared plus 2 squared. And that should be 2 root 14. All right, so on to number 4. The absolute value of 5 minus 7 minus the absolute value of 7 minus 5 is equal to. This is a very simple question. You just have to be careful of the absolute value marks. So 5 minus 7 is equal to the absolute value of -2 is equal to 2. The absolute value of 7 minus 5 is equal to the absolute value of 2, which is equal to 2. But this is 2 minus the absolute value of 2. This can also be read as 2 minus 2 in parentheses. Remember that the sign of this 2 doesn't change, which is just 2 minus 2. So the answer would be 0, which is our letter B right here. Be careful not to look at the answer choices, because you don't want to make a mistake that would lead you to get a wrong answer. All right, so a line has a parametric equation x equals t plus 5 and y equals t plus 10. So what is the slope of the line? So at first you might be stumped. Why are there 3 variables instead of just 2, and that you've only done lines with only 2 variables, y and x? I know that parametric equations are taught in pre-calc, but maybe you haven't got that far. So all this is really just a system of equations. So you want to find the value of t first. So x equals t plus 5 and y equals t plus 10. So x minus 5 is going to be equal to t. Y is going to be equal to, we're going to plug that x minus 5 in. Y is going to be equal to x minus 5 plus 10. Y is going to be equal to x plus 5. Yes, x plus 5. And then you'll notice that our m here in mx plus b is just 1. So our slope is going to be 1. All right. 2 dice are tossed. What is the probability that neither die is a... All right, so we want to start by underlining the question. 2 dice are tossed. Then what is the probability that neither die is a 4? So we know that on our dice, we have the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in other words, we have a 5 in 6 chance that neither die will be a 4, because if we eliminate this 4, then you'll see that there are only 5 numbers left, so 5 in 6 chances. And then we have 2 dice. So all you want to do is just exponentiate this to the number of things that we have, so 2 dice. So you just have to square it. And then that's going to give us our answer 25 over 36, which is going to be letter D right here. Okay, number 7. 1, 6, 3, negative 2, and negative 2k are collinear points. What is k? So by collinear points, this is going to mean that the slope between all of these points is going to be the same. And they give us the first 2 points so that we can figure out the slope, and then we can use this slope to find out the value of k. So let's start by finding the slope of the first 2 points. So our slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is equal to m. So negative 2 minus 6 over 3 minus 1 is equal to negative 8 over 2 equal to negative 4. Okay. So then we want to find this. So we know the slope. We want to find k. So then we're going to do this point right here and this point. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to set them equal to negative 4, or set their slope rather equal to negative 4. So I do k minus 2. Remember that we're subtracting a negative number, so there you go. Negative 2 minus 3 is equal to negative 4. This value right here is negative 5. Phi equals negative 4. We're just going to multiply both sides by negative 5. Remember to write down all of your work like this so that you don't miss a step by doing mental math and then get a wrong answer. So then k plus 2 is going to be equal to 20, and k is equal to 18. And letter E right here, 18, that is our answer. So this question asks vectors u and v are given by u equals 3, 0, and v equals 1, negative 4. What is the length of vector w given by w equals 2u minus v? So this is a very simple problem. You just want to plug in the right numbers. So w equals 2 multiplied by 3, 0 minus v, or rather minus 1, negative 4. So this is going to be 6, 0 minus 1, negative 4. And then when we distribute this negative sign, and then we add these together, we're going to get 5, 4. But we want to find the magnitude of vector w. So we're going to have to use the distance formula. So the root of 5 squared plus 4 squared. And let me just take out my calculator, see what that is. Square root of 5 squared plus 4 squared. That's going to be the square root of 41, which is our answer. All right, number 9. The domain of g of x equals 3 over root of 4 minus x squared is? Okay, so we're gonna write out the square root. So root 4 minus x squared equals 0. And so we want to find out what values this can be. Because remember that you can't take the square root of a negative number, and that you can't have 0 in here, because this is your denominator. So actually, I'm going to make this greater than or equal to 0. So x squared, negative x squared plus 4 has to be greater than or equal to 0. I just squared both sides. X squared has to be greater than or equal to negative 4. Sorry, this is a negative x squared. So then we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. X squared has to be less than or equal to 4. So now we're going to take the square root. Remember that the square root of x squared is equal to plus or minus x. So in this case, it's going to be plus or minus 2. So x squared either has to be less than or equal to 2, or, sorry, not x squared, or x has to be greater than or equal to negative 2. And actually, it shouldn't be equal then. I don't know why I wrote that. It should be greater, because remember, we don't want a 0. And so our domain is going to be parentheses negative 2, comma 2. And you'll see that that's our answer right here. I'm just going to erase some of this work so I can make space for the next problem. Okay. The radius of circle x squared minus 4x plus y squared plus 6y equals 3. Okay. So what we're going to want to do here is complete the square, and it's already pretty much set up for us. All we need to do is add the constants. So x squared minus 4x, and remember that to complete the square, you have to divide the b term and then divide the b term by 2 and then square it. So our b term here is 4. Remember that these are in the equation a squared, or actually I should write ax squared plus bx, and the b term that I'm referring to is this term, just to clarify. And then the c is the constant that we're going to be adding on later. So x squared minus 4x plus 4, because 4 divided by 2 equals 2, and then 2 squared equals 4, plus y squared plus 6y plus 9 equals 3 plus 4 plus 9. That's a very weird looking plus sign, but I'll let it go. And then, so now we're going to have 3 plus 4 plus 9 equals 16. And now we're going to want to simplify, or yes, we were simplifying. So x minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared is equal to 16. But what they only want is just the 16, so you can really just not do any of this, but I'm doing it anyway. And then the square root of 16 is equal to 4. Remember that circle equations are in the formula x minus h squared plus y minus h squared equals r squared. So the square root of r, or the square root of r squared, which is going to give us r, is 4. So our answer is 4. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. I will do the next 10 problems tomorrow.